Give it to me like.
Welcome to Cocktails for Breakfast.
I'm your host, Bailey.
I'm your host, Sophie. What are we going to talk about today, Bales?
I think we're going to cover friends.
Oh, let's do it. Friendship.
Friends.
Okay. Should I start on how we met, or do you want to?
You can
Maybe
do it.
I should do it.
You can
Okay,
do it.
let's do it. Okay, so basically I met Bailey 6 years ago at a bachelorette party. It was honestly one of the best time I've ever had. Like we went to somebody's bachelorette, Dana, and it was at this like, what was this?
It was like a camp. It was a camp.
It was like camp, right? So we get there, and then they had like a little theater set up for the kids, but there were no kids, guys. It was just only adults, and basically we could put some music on and do some karaoke. And then this song comes on, and it's like Anaconda.
We
Nicki
had
Minaj.
to spice it up.
Yeah, and Bailey was on stage doing her thing, and I was like, oh, hot dang, what's happening here? And I immediately was drawn to her energy. It was just so fun, so bubbly, and the rest is kind of history. I think I connected with you after, right? Like after the Bachelorette.
Yeah, I feel like you were just set out to be my friend and booked a haircut. Like, I'm going to be this girl's friend, and I like that. It's kind of a stalker vibe, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I went for it, and I was like, you know what? Okay, let's go. She cut my hair, and then we started being friends that way. And at a like superficial level, I want to say, we didn't get into the friendship right away. And then I started my business in direct sales, and she was a hairstylist. So I'm like, I want this girl on my team. She ghosted me, guys. She ghosted me big time for like 4 months of ghosting me. And then eventually I just showed up at her salon again. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. And that's basically what happened.
That's basically what happened. Yeah. And then the rest is kind of like history.
Yeah.
Right. And then, yeah. What are your thoughts on our friendship and the business?
I think that it's very hard to come across a friendship that you can also have with a business partner. So I think a lot of people have tried that before, and we'll cover a little bit of things on what we think makes a good friend and a friend in business, because I do think you have to separate them both. So I think, like, first and foremost, you have to have open communication, which I think you and I are really good at, just being transparent with what we want and not taking offense to it. It's like, this is our business hat, and then taking it off and putting on our friendship hat, for lack of a better analogy.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like we talk every day, guys. Like, honestly, and when we don't talk, it's kind of odd.
It's weird. Like, you just went home, and I was like, "Can you come back? Because I got all these ideas, and you're not replying because you're so busy."
Yeah, literally, and that's the thing. It's like, and then the acceptance portion of it is so super important, because we're actually, guys, we're super different. Bailey and I are so different. We have the same values, I want to say. We have the same like we're drawn to the same things when it comes to the business and the message. But at the end of the day, I feel like our ideas of success are very different. And also, like, who we are as people is very different too. She's a Scorpio. Watch out.
We like the juju.
Yeah.
Heads up.
Yeah. And I'm an Aries. So it kind of like was a match made in heaven, really, when it comes to our friendship and our business. And I think the fact that I feel like that's where people sometimes fall short, is that the judgment piece comes in, or they're not accepting of the other person, or accepting the boundaries and, you know, understanding. And it's like that mutual respect. At the end of the day, we kind of both really want to get to the same place, right? And I think that that's where people kind of lack that understanding, right? And it's like, you don't have to forget yourself in this friendship, or even in this business, friendship, I want to say.
Yeah, and I think friendships are a lot like relationships, and they require work. That's why quality is always, better than quantity. I think my friends are like my sisters, or like my family. I seriously can count them on one hand. And those relationships take a lot of work, even though sometimes you go so long, sometimes without speaking to a friend, but when you get back together, it's like no time has passed. And I think when it comes to the communication too, is just both being clear on what your intentions are. Like, example, our podcast, I said, oh, I like this and you like that. And it's just having open communication and not doing something, even if you're not on board, or listening to the other person and saying, okay, I could see your point, which we had that talk last night at like 10 p.m. trying to think about, well, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. And it's just really being receptive and not reactive also.
Yeah.
I've definitely had some friendships where it's more like you get reactive and then you don't resolve anything. So friendship, I think, is just like a relationship.
It is.
Need
Totally.
some TLC.
Yeah, honestly. And it's that understanding portion. And I feel like when it comes to business too, is like you said, that open communication, being really clear on what we want. And we've known each other, guys, for 6 years now. So I can almost finish Bailey's sentences or help her through some of the things that she's thinking of or the ideas. And same goes with her. It's like that. It's that energy and that exchange that's super, super strong. And I do feel that we've had this comment a lot actually through our team, or even like people from the outside, like
a lot lately too.
I wish I had what you guys have. And it's like, I can't even explain it into words what it is, but it's definitely, it's pretty freaking cool.
It is. I think a lot of it too is just, like you said, same values, but we're cut from the same cloth. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Our personality is different, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need two of me walking around. Let's get real. But I think too, when it comes to support, there's been so many times in our friendship where like my business was like flourishing and you're in the thick of home life. And then there was a time when yours was flourishing and I was in the thick of it. And it's just being supportive. And I did hear this amazing thing Chelsea Handler said. I don't know if it was like on a Call Her Daddy podcast. I want to say. But she was talking about how she introduced someone else to comedy, just like you introduced me to our biz. And that person, she was in it for a year, and she went, and Chelsea encouraged this girl to come with her, her friend, to like try out for this comedy club. And her friend got it. And Chelsea got the part and Chelsea didn't. And she was just saying how jealous she was, and how you have to realize jealousy is just, it's a natural feeling, but it's how we act on it, which I feel like we've really come to learn. And how, you know, not to blow out someone else's candle, someone else's flame, because yours is coming too. And like, look at Chelsea Handler, like she's huge now. Yeah. But I really love that analogy, because I think sometimes, especially when you're working with friends in business, but even just friendship, you see someone who's maybe a little bit happier, they're in their flow, or things are coming together for them, or they're starting a family, or you haven't met the guy yet. And sometimes it can be hard to, you know, accept that there are moments where the other person just needs your support, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to also have it. And I feel like you and I, that's a little different for us. I feel like we balance that, and it's something we've learned, because we haven't always been that way. Yeah. But it's definitely, I think, like just as important as communication.
Yeah. And I feel like you said it so right when it comes to like, you don't have to dim somebody's light when it comes to either business or friendship or somebody's success. There's room for everybody. And it tells more about the type of person that you are if you're there to empower that person rather than dimming their light. You know what I mean? And I do believe in business karma, and I do believe in life karma, like overall. And I just think that, you know, being supportive of that person just shows what kind of person that you are. And that will bring that good energy. That's going to bring the business to you. That's going to bring, you know, all the relationships to you. And I'm so happy that we connected back then, because
it's wild. Everything happens for a reason.
Have changed.
And so I joined the business and teamed up with Sophie when I was pregnant also. And if you're like us and believe in the juju, my son was born on Sophie's birthday, which I think is like pretty wild.
Yeah, that's
pretty
insane.
Crazy. And yeah, I guess, you know what, let's leave a little bit of tips on for people who, you know, maybe want to have a deeper connection with their one friend, or they're starting off with friends in business. Like, what advice would you give that person?
I think the first thing I would just tell them is just to have a sit down, a coffee, and like lay it out on the table when it comes to their expectations and their goals. There's nothing worse than not being like having that right communication and then going back home and feeling like you didn't really say what you wanted to say. And then you don't want that resentment to start festering and like snowballing. And I think that's a really, really important piece. What about you?
I just had the idea and it slipped my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, now I remember. Haha. I also think, and you do this a lot, is call me out on my bullshit. And
Yeah,
I think
it's important,
sometimes
yeah.
like we know as a friend, like, okay, they're just feeling this way. But sometimes you need in a partnership, friends in business is, you know, like the other day when you said to me, you're like, you're just getting nervous. Like
Yeah.
maybe Bailey's doing a little self-sabotage. And even though you can be aware of it, sometimes you just got to notice what it is.
Yeah.
But it's also having that connection where that person can say to you, hey, I actually think this is kind of what's going on. Let's take it back a minute. And I feel like you're really actually good at that because I'm kind of like, woo.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's that sounding board. And that's when you get to know somebody on that deeper level that you're able to understand where they're coming from. And that I feel like that's a really important piece, is to just lay it out on the table, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and take the pressure off. And then, just start walking together, like in the same direction, and things will just work out. If it's meant to work out, it's going to freaking work out.
And it will say, you guys should go on dates as friends. I was just thinking, like, Sophie and I really bond over food and cocktails.
We're bougie like that.
Yeah. So when we want to have like a night out, or we want to like get into our business, we kind of get dressed up. We'll book ourselves a really nice dinner in the city, and we'll just go and have a really good time, kid-free, husband-free, and kind of have like a fun bougie day.
Yeah. So fun.
Yeah. It's good just to connect, make memories, laugh. It doesn't have to be about work. You know, just it's a good time.
Our own little therapy
Yeah.
and business partners at the same time.
Date your friends too. You got to carve out the time.
You got to carve out the time. Exactly.
Give it to me like.
Okay, so if you enjoyed this episode, you want to hear other things, I'd love for you to like, comment, and share, and tag a hoe.